one of the things that is really clear to us at this point in time is that veterans support services, ex-service organisations, there is not a strong connection with mainstream housing services, absolutely not. And so part of this toolkit aims to be the trigger, if you like, for starting to build collaboration, partnerships, working relationships between those services that are working with veterans and housing providers so that they can together work out and work with veterans to help them stay housed, get housed and stay housed.
So my organisation, Westside Housing, has been working in the veteran space for over 21 years. So our experience was a little bit different. We actually fed a lot of information into the toolkit rather than trialling it per se. Veterans have a very different relationship to home and a very different experience of home and place to other people in the community who are adults. Often they have not made their own decisions about where they're going to have lived and sort out accommodation on their own. Some people have, but a lot of them haven't. And so they need unique support. We find that with the contemporary veterans, every case is very different. Everyone's different ages, different experience. We find people who are really struggling to make decisions, to make good decisions because they've experienced trauma. So we see our role as making those decisions easier for them, making them feel safe, providing a service where they can trust us.
Our involvement with the Veteran Toolkit pilot was really from the conception stage. We run a homeless veteran program and we've had 172 veterans come through our program, and that represents about 20,000 nights of accommodation that we've provided to homeless veterans. The toolkit itself is actually a really simple but useful resource. It provides a pathway to information connections. It's not the ultimate, so no one thing can do everything, but it's a really handy way to help educate those people who are managing tenancies for veterans. It makes what is a pretty complicated network of support accessible, so that when we've got staff, for example, who may not be particularly experienced with DVA or Open Arms or the ex-services network, they can use the toolkit, get some pretty basic insights that will then enable them to pick up the phone and have the more detailed conversations that they need to have.
So the toolkit is really introducing us to the veterans community because we're experts at tenancy management, expert at making relationships with support services, good at maintaining properties. We don't know veterans. So this takes our providers through who a veteran is, what sort of experiences they might have, what potential vulnerabilities they might have, and also introduces our providers to DVA, ex-service organisations, support services. And then it focuses on practice and particularly about building relationships with a section of government we've never had, with a section of the voluntary ex-service organisations that we haven't had. And it makes suggestions about how we can change our practice so that veterans, one, know about us, and two, when they know about us, they're happy about the service they get.
So doing this toolkit, we really focused on providing snapshot information, but to get people thinking what it means to actually be a veteran in terms of how they may react or look for or seek service or need to be supported.
There isn't an awful lot of social and affordable housing out there, but if we build that relationship, then for those very vulnerable veterans, we should be able to help. And what we can do with the new accommodation we're building is to think of the needs of veterans alongside the needs of people with disability or women escaping domestic and family violence.
The Community Housing Industry Association represents 120,000 homes. So already CHOs are accommodating more veterans than I ever will, but they probably just don't know it. And if they do know it, they might not necessarily be aware of the services and supports that are available to them to help the veterans sustain their tenancies. They're not aware about the services available through Open Arms. They may not be aware of the services available through the ex-service networks. They may not be aware of the support that's available through DVA for veterans who are struggling. We don't have enough bricks and mortar houses. We just don't have the roof space to put the homeless veterans under. But what we do have is this great support network that can help you sustain the tenancies. So the project we found with CHOs, they're really keen to help us do that. they're really keen to engage with this, and hopefully in the long term we generate, not only do we generate more sustainable tenancies, but we actually increase the number of tenancies that are available for homeless veterans as well.
I think that the value of this toolkit is to assist other community housing providers who have somewhere in the range of 120,000 properties nationally to see veterans. They're very difficult to see in the system. It's a very crowded space that we work in. There are a lot of people waiting for community housing who are in really difficult circumstances. And without implementing some of the stakeholder engagement and networking and collaborating with veteran organisations, those community housing providers won't see veterans and they won't be able to prioritise them.
If someone doesn't have safe and secure housing, then sorting out any other problem is just massively more difficult. We want to build a cohort of providers who are interested in learning more and keen to work with the veterans community.